This is Natasha, aka Natty Willy, and I needed to do this. I needed to do a video spoiling the heck out of the books because I feel like I've been holding out a lot, holding myself back because I can't talk about what's gonna happen or how potentially they will get there. So here it is. If you have not read the books, this is your final warning. At all. If you have not read up to book 14, the last book of the series, I will not continue, please, because I'm about to get super spoilery here, okay? And I do want to cover both episode 4 and 5 here, so let's just get to it. So episode 4, there were so many Easter eggs in that episode. Even the beginning of the episode, or the intro, I didn't realize this until I happened to do a rewatch here. So the first part, which is the thread, first off, there's like a black thread and a white thread, and it's thinning, and then it breaks. So I thought that was maybe an example of stilling/gentling and also burning out. But I also noticed the placing of the names here. So we got Zoe Robbins and Madden listed, as part of the thread, but then when they kind of like burst into like the light and some power, Josha's name was right there. So subtle, so subtle. And then even in this episode, I feel like it was just subtle. And at the end of episode 4, we did see Nynaeve look at Logain like, you better, if you try something again, I'm gonna hurt you. But I also know that look too, it was definitely foreshadowing as far as when she heals him later on in the series, which I am definitely looking forward to. And I really hope that they explore that more, him losing the power and then him getting into a depressive state. Yeah, we get to see the Aes Sedai and water bond and the effects of that, especially when it's severed like that. But also, again, I just hope that they explore that a little bit more, because granted, we don't see Logain for like a really long time, or at least until when he's with Swan and everybody. So I do want to talk about the dreams, because we've been kind of like introduced to the dreams since episode 2, and Rand had a dream twice already. Subtle. And then Perrin had a dream once. So I do think they are definitely slowly but surely showing us the dream world. And I think they're just going to expound on it from there. But I did find it interesting that we haven't really seen a Egwene dream yet. So I'm wondering if they were keeping that close to the vest, because we are just discovering that she even channels. So I think they're just going to slowly build up to that. Like they just, you can't just like not have her not do dreams here. That's pretty much a main focal point with the Aiel and her training. So I just think they're probably going to mention that eventually, or she's going to start having dreams, or we're going to see dreams or her dreaming more than anything else. But definitely I did notice that Rand and Perrin are the only two people, or the only two guys that we see the dreams. And unfortunately in episode 4, Perrin pretty much lost. He doesn't want to sleep anymore because he's having these dreams. And Rand is probably going to be just as bad. And again, I just thought that was definitely foreshadowing, just in a general sense, but also because they're showing us who we're getting dreams from more than anything else. So definitely good job on that. I did think it was interesting, just Logain mentioned binding, people or enemies to him. So he's the Dragon Reborn. And so I thought that was kind of like a nice foreshadowing, especially since Rand is eventually, or the Dragon Reborn, is going to eventually, bind people to him. And definitely enemies like the Sanshin and even Aes Sedai, because he has a huge mistrust of Aes Sedai. Again, subtle. And that's going to play in later, of course, with Doom Eyes Wells. Like, it's going to feed into that, paranoia that he has. And I just think that was also interesting. Nynaeve, and of course wearing green and yellow, I think she actually tugged or, kind of straightened herself a little bit, especially when she was talking to Lan. I did notice that. And I also thought it was a nice little nod when Leandrin purposefully mispronounced Nynaeve's name, because we all know it's pronounced Nynaeve, but I think book readers, at least for years, have been pronouncing it Nynaeve. So I think that was just a little shout out to them. And of course, Matt and the little girl and her doll Brigitte, the doll even had a braid. So kudos to the writers for that. But just Brigida, again, dreams. She protects her while she's dreaming, and then she wants to go out and see the world. Again, just, the Brigida was always wanting to see the world or be a traveler, but also her friendship with Matt, and that's how they're going to tie in with that. Just because, him and Brigida have, like, this friendship, and I always loved their friendship. Like, I always enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that on screen and that chemistry. So, that was just a cute way or a nice nod to when we eventually get Brigitte, and I can't wait for that. I cannot wait for that. And then in the dream, Matt had blood on his hand. Ah, red hand, yay. Rand's reaction to hearing the story of Owen was interesting too. I felt like his facial expressions were a little bit like, again, feeding into that paranoia and mistrust that he has of Aes Sedai, but also just the fact that it seems like he's low-key protecting himself, or feel like he has to protect himself, or because of A, Dumai's Wells, but two, just the fact that he could have the one power, and I don't think even he realizes it yet. So, again, we're just, yeah. So I am interested in seeing how we're going to be introduced to Tom, and I feel like he didn't really have a limp prior to, the fight with the Fates, so now I'm wondering if he's going to have a limp now once, we see him again. That will be very interesting. And Tom's quote about a man knowing about his past, or something along those lines. So I thought that was a nice tie-in as far as Rand is concerned, because he does hear Lews Therin, and he does eventually, like, when he's at Dragonmount, he kind of, like, instead of hearing him separately, he knows that he is this person, and he has his past, or, what he did wrong, what happened, what everything. And so I think that was a nice tie-in, and as well as with Matt. And it's interesting because he does say that to Rand, and we're with Matt. So Matt gets, memories of past, generals, and then we have Rand, who eventually remembers himself as Lews Therin. So definitely nice tie-in, definitely nice Easter egg. I was like, woo! I was like, wow! That definitely implications there for sure. And so I'm kind of wondering, as far as Logain and the madness. He's hearing voices. We don't really know who those voices are. Because we're assuming it's Ashamiel that's been, invading people's dreams. So why can't he evade, like, people's thoughts too? Like, that, did he have that ability? I'm really trying to remember how that happened. But I am super glad. Yes, it was a change from the books. We heard about the capture of Logain and then his gentling. So I was really happy, super happy that we got to see that. Something that happened off screen here. It needed to be shown, I think, and also, again, to show the Aes Sedai water bond, and it showed a lot, and it's going to build up from there. And it just makes me wonder if Logain is going to be merged as far as a few characters. I'm wondering if he will be like a combination of Mazrim and just him and Mazrim. It would kind of suck, just because I know where Logain's going, and because I love him, or I really liked his character, despite the fact he killed Karina at this point. He kind of but as far as where he goes, with the Black Tower and everything, I'm just wondering. I just wonder. And with Matt and the dagger, I think them showing us him potentially being absorbed by the Black Wind, or Mashadar, I think that was actually brilliant because of what happens later on. Because, Matt and Padafane have that connection, and they have that, the wind, or the Black Wind. And so I really didn't like, in the last book, how that got resolved. And so I think by them introducing it this way, it definitely makes more sense later, and I'm glad that they're doing that, and I hope that they expound that even more as we get later on in the seasons. Hopefully we'll get more seasons, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, hopefully we'll get something more on that timeline. Let's talk about episode 5 as far as the Easter eggs that I noticed. Definitely the fact that the Fade, we haven't seen hide nor hair of the Fade, so it's obviously Tom's alive. Like, come on now. And then with the scene with Lull, before that, Rand was looking at the Corinthian cycle. We know what that means. Why are you so curious, Rand? Like, why are you looking up the Corinthian cycle? And then, and definitely, of course, the Forsaken. I was trying to figure out, like, who was who. Like, I feel like the short, stocky dude was Samael. I'm like, damn, y'all gonna do Samael like that, bro? And then, of course, I think I saw Cimarron for sure. And I feel like the one that looked like homegirl from Game of Thrones, the grandma with her hat, I feel like that's Masana. Or Masana. Masana. Yeah, and then just the fact that they're in Camelin versus, not Camelin, I'm sorry. They're in Tarvalon versus Camelin. So, us meeting Lull, that definitely I feel like happened in Camelin versus Tarvalon. So it's just interesting that they're kind of like just switching places, but at least Camelin is mentioned because they did mention that Armorlessly was coming back from Camelin. So that should be interesting. And then just the fact that Swan and Moiraine, are friends, but why are they trying to act like Swan is hating on Moiraine right now? Like, what? Why is that? Unless it's a front. Because, like Leandrin said, like, they're like blue spies. So they could be playing the long game, acting like they're enemies when really they just need to meet up and compare notes, kind of a thing. So it just really depends on what their situation's like next week. I'm just wondering, like, how did Logain train himself with the one power? Like, who trained him? Like, did he just, was he able to look stuff up? What, were the voices guiding him? But if that's the case, then is he really mad, or is he really listening to potential people that know what they're doing? Like, is that a positive effect of madness? You kind of instinctively know how to channel? Like, what? How did he teach himself here? Okay, it's just really interesting to see if we can find that out, and if we'll find that out. And it's interesting to me, we haven't even heard about Eye of the World, and that's pretty much the first book. Didn't Moiraine know about the Eye of the World? Why have we not heard about Eye of the World up until now? Like, what? Hopefully we'll get to that, because it just feels like it's going to be shoehorned in. Like, oh yay, Eye of the World, we need to go there. But there's no exposition for that. You're telling me no one knew about Eye of the World, and that's the place to kind of like try and hopefully, seal the Dark One? What? You telling me that's just like no? Okay. Yeah. But yeah. Again, they're like really subtly letting us know who the Dragon Reborn is, but I feel like hopefully people are picking up on that. I just hope non-readers are picking up on that for sure. Because it's like, of course we know who it is, but I did not. Okay, I almost forgot about Dragon Mount. So, Rand noticed the mountain, Dragon Mount. And then he's like, oh, I feel like I've been here somewhere before. Again, subtle reminders here. Come on now. Come on. You were born at Dragon Mount. You created Dragon Mount. Come on now. Oh, yeah. Okay. We know what that means. I'm just like, wow. Oh, and you know that stone that had like the writing on it that Rand noticed, and I actually noticed that also when Leandrin and their camp were walking into, or traveling to Tarvalon. Like, I noticed it had like writings and drawings on that too. So I think we just got our first look at a portal stone, y'all, and I'm excited about that. Oh, and I totally meant to discuss this in my spoiler review of episode 5. Like, with Egwene and how they were scrubbing her and just, putting her in white. First off, that was like, of course, purity, because they're the White Cloaks and they really like obsessed with cleanliness and being pure. But also that was kind of like a nod to her eventually being in novice white. So it was kind of like they did like a 1-2 punch with that. But again, like, just, it was a little disturbing, I'm not gonna lie, when they were cleaning her up like that. And that definitely gave me like yucky vibes, especially with Volda and his propensity to just touch women without their permission, and just Morgane's a story, y'all. I'm just not looking forward to that and Aim Volta with that aspect of it, if they keep it. But also just them brushing out her braid too, which was definitely like, it's like you're taking away like her culture, like just everything, just to make her become what they want her to be. And it was an interesting scene, I'm not gonna lie. And of course, Perrin and the wolves. Yes, I'm liking the progression. I am still hoping that we really get Elias, because we need Elias. Like, we just need him. He needs to give us that lore that we really need when it comes to being a wolf brother. And then of course Perrin absorbing that information, and really he needs some guidance, and Elias was definitely the person to do that. So it makes me wonder if they're still going to combine a few characters. Definitely maybe him and someone else that's similar. Huron, maybe? Like, I just don't know. I also meant to mention this in my spoiler review of episode 5. Lowell, or Hammond, who's playing Lowell, definitely I feel like listened to Michael Kramer from the audiobooks, because as I was hearing, I'm like, that is Michael Kramer. That is Michael Kramer. Like, that actually made me super excited too, because I'm like, he got that cadence, that just everything. So again, I'm not feeling the wig, but I'm adjusting. But yeah, just the way that he talks and everything like that definitely is Lowell. Like, that is so Lowell. And I think with Lowell, we will definitely get a lot of exposition because he is knowledgeable. And I did think that they kind of caught his naiveness or naivete, especially since he pretty much ran his mouth to Leandrin, of course, who told Nynaeve where Rand and Mat are. So I hope they kind of expound on that a little bit more. Like, he seems to run his mouth and he doesn't understand that sometimes you don't need to say a lot. But because of how he is, I just hope that they kind of like give him that, eventually him learning that, and then give him that balance because of what he learns. So it will work both ways with Lowell as far as character development with him. And I am definitely looking forward to like the friendships that he develops with the characters, especially with Rand and Perrin, like, for sure. I definitely always enjoyed those scenes and those moments with them, like, and I'm looking forward to it. And I hope they kind of also expound on his relationship or his friendship with, even Nynaeve and, the other characters, because I feel like he can be friends with everybody, and he does, but he's definitely closer to Rand and Perrin than anyone else. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that. And you know what? I think because of Perrin's way of feeling like he's gonna hurt someone, or like because he's so big and because he has that rage, I'm hoping that Lowell will also serve the dual purpose of, yeah, you can be big and gentle and everything like that, and rage when you need to, and having that balance with that. I'm hoping that he kind of show him that so he can kind of be more comfortable, especially with his newfound abilities. But then I'm wondering if they don't have Elias, if they're going to use Lowell to kind of like help explain the lore of being a wolf brother. But I do still think that we need like a real life person to expound on that lore, like an actual person who has the same abilities and who has lived this for a very long time, to help Perrin adjust to it, as well as Lowell just being a big burly person who doesn't really is not really violent unless he needs to. I think they need that contrast. Just him being, we first see golden eyes, like him turning gold. So I do think that that's okay. Like, he doesn't have to, his eyes don't have to fully turn gold right this second. I still think there's still time to build that up. I know probably at this point in the books his eyes have turned completely gold and no one really knows why, but at the same time, yeah, we need to build up to that, I think. And yeah, I think they're just slowly building, and I do hopefully eventually, I hope that we can get voices. Like, I do. Who doesn't want to hear Appa's voice? He had like a nice voice, damn it. I want to hear his voice. But just and even the other wolves, and a lot of Two Minds Wells, hello, when he was saying, hey, they took our brother. They took, oh my gosh, Sight Blinder? Whatever the name that they had for Rand. Like, that conversation that he has in his head with the wolves, that was super deep. So we have to hear the wolves. Like, we have to. Because that was a very powerful scene. They're like, we're coming. Oh, they took our boy? Oh, no, we ain't going for that. Kind of like similar to how they did it here, but it was subtle. Like, they heard, again, him, or they can feel him, you know, being tortured, and they're like, nah, we ain't going for that. Oh, you're gonna know we're here, okay? So yeah, I think it'll work out. I'm hoping that it'll work out. I want to have faith, okay? Like, yeah. And with Eamon Volda, I definitely am getting Asanawa, the questioner that was part of the Children of the Light. And then, of course, him. So I feel like he's combined with a few characters. And with Leandrin, I'm definitely getting a Light of Eyes. But I'm hoping that maybe they combine her with another Red Sister that, you know, is also Black Aja. I feel like that would be better than just having Elida combined with her. Like, Elida, they need to show us that even with, you can be Black Aja, but then you can also just be a person that is so out of touch and just so, you have good intentions, but the way that you're going about doing things is just wrong. We need the people that are going to be assholes just be assholes, and then we have the people that are actually, they have their own agenda and they're definitely working for the dark. So we still need that contrast, like we do. So yeah, if they're going to combine her, they need to combine her with like another Black Aja sister that we just barely see, or their end of their story arc may be slightly different, and it just depends on who that is. Probably another Red Sister that, you know, was definitely Black, but I don't know. It just depends. Like Alviarn, I don't know. Like, I feel like Alviarn is her own entity too. Like, especially since she's from a different Aja, and also because I think you can see kind of like how even within the Black Aja, they still have their own agenda at the end of the day. I think they still need that contrast as well with that. So yeah, it just depends on what happens with that. And when Stefan did mention Moiraine, and, you know, maybe you'll know how it feels if something happens to Moiraine. You just had to mention that, huh? Because I'm so not looking forward to that. Yeah, and I'm still low-key upset that we didn't get a scene with Lan and Nynaeve. I really wanted them to talk. Like, come on now, can we pick that? Can we pick it up? Can we pick up where we left off? Like, can we? Just a little bit? Just a smidge? No? Okay. All right. Let me go back into my little corner. But there were still hints of, like, you know, Nynaeve wanting to heal Stefan in her own way by giving him tea and, like, trying to comfort him, because even she was worried. And it was funny because last week when Nynaeve was, like, in the midst of the battle, it just makes me wonder if she was being overwhelmed or feeling overwhelmed. One thing, because she's in a battle, but two, because there was a lot of power going on around her, and maybe she low-key sensed that. So I'm just wondering if that kind of contributed to her eventually, like, letting it out, because this is definitely the beginning of Nynaeve's stubbornness when it comes to the One Power. And I do, again, like the contrast between her and Egwene as far as, like, how they let their power out, and how, you know, either they're learning or they're not learning, or how they're embracing the power. So we're already getting that contrast. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the major difference with that, and just how they branch out and run parallel. So yeah. So again, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for, you know, watching the video. TeamJVS. Again, I'm WillCat12. Natasha, aka Natty Willy. I'm out. Also, like, please comment below. Let me know what you think of the episode. What did you see? What major differences did you see? And maybe put, like, a spoiler warning on your comment if you can. And definitely let me know what y'all think. And definitely think, just in a general sense, what you thought of the episode. It's definitely an emotional one. Hey, you saw me crying, because I can relate. Not in the suicide part, but definitely just, like, the grieving part of it. I can relate so well. So I think that's definitely why I got emotional. Probably even more so than I did when I first saw Parent. Yeah. the wife, I wasn't connected, so I couldn't really. I mean, I was sympathizing just a little bit more here in this episode because I feel like, again, we're getting the connection with the wolf, so I think that's why I was getting emotional with it, and I'll probably be more emotional later on because we know what happens with that. So yeah, I'm really hoping that's Hopper. Like, I'm really hoping that was Hopper that kind of like was like barking at him and be like, look, bruh, you need to go. You need to go. So yeah, guys, I'm out. Bye.